So it's March the 1st, and we're going to do transversals today and work with angles with our transversals. And this example that I'm giving you is going to be plain and simple. We start off with a set of parallel lines. That is the first thing that must exist for this transversal to work. This line and this line, these two lines are parallel to each other. I can tell by the arrows, which means they will never ever touch. This line and this line will stay apart at this distance forever and ever. However, if I take a line and draw it straight through these two parallel lines, I call the line that goes through a transversal. So this is parallel lines, parallel. This is a transversal. Now, why is that so important? Because if I have a set of parallel lines and I have a transversal, something amazing happens. This area where you see the four corners matches perfectly with this area where you see the four corners. In fact, if I number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there are quite a few conjectures that I can make. If I cut this out and it sits on top of that, then 1 corresponds to 5, so they must be equal. 2 corresponds to 6, so they must be equal. 4 corresponds to 8, so they must be equal. And 3 corresponds to 7, so they must be equal. So one of the most important things to know about the transversal and the angles is corresponding angles. Okay, I'm now going to move to the next page, and then we're going to practice some of these angles. Here we go. I'm going to draw my parallel lines one more time. They're parallel. I have a transversal, and let's say that this angle is 50 degrees. This is angle 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now I can ask you, how big 2? Okay, so angle 2 actually lies on a straight line with 50. So that'll take us back to yesterday's work. So if they're together on a straight line, then they're supplementary. So 180 minus 50 would give me 130 degrees. How would that help me? If angle 2 is 130, what do I know about angle 4? It's also 130 because they are vertical. So angle 4 is 130 because it's vertical with angle 2. Okay? What do I know about 3? Well, 3 is vertical to 50, so it's 50, or it's supplementary with angle 4, and it'll still be 50. But what's nice is I can say, if angle 3 is 50, because it's vertical, then angle 7 must also be 50, because it corresponds to 7. Remember when I cut this out and I fit it on top of that? 3 will lie straight on top of 7. So 3 corresponds to 7. And if I know 50, then I know angle 5. And if I know angle 4, then I know angle 8. And if I know angle 2, then I know angle 6. The other angles that you're supposed to know about are interior angles. Now, if this is my parallel lines, then the angles that lie inside it are interior. So 3 and 4, interior. 6 and 5, interior angles. So interior angles lie inside the parallel lines. Okay? And here's what you need to know. In interior alternate angles. In other words, the angles that lie on either side of the transversal but are still on the inside, like 6 and 4, inside and on either side of the transversal, they would be equal. So 4 would be equal to 6. And what about 3 and 5? The same thing. 3 would be equal to 5. Why? Because they're inside on alternates of the transversal. We call it interior alternate angles. Okay? And you can use that to your advantage. If they gave you 6, then you automatically have 4. If they gave you 5, then you automatically have 3. Okay? There are also exterior angles. They lie on the outside. And these exterior angles can be alternate to the transversal. So I'm looking at these two angles and these two angles on opposite sides of the transversal. So 2 lies on the outside, so does 8. 2 and 8 are on opposite sides of the transversal, so I can call them exterior alternate angles. And they are the same. So 50 and 7 would also be the same because they are also exterior alternate. Okay, that's a lot of information, and the best way to use this information is to actually go and practice a few. So we are now going to practice in class a few together. I got you a nice worksheet for that. We can work straight from that. Thank you for listening, guys.